father was Kenaz, and their land with that of the Canaanite tribes was promised to Abraham. To this clan belonged Jephunneh, the father of Caleb. All right, it had evidently been absorbed by the tribe of Judah. All right, so how many of you met a Kenizzite this week? Anybody met a Kenizzite? You heard about those in the news? No. See where I'm going? How about this week? The Cadmonites. Cadmonites are mentioned in Genesis 15 along with the Kenites. Kenizzites are doubtless the same as the children of the East whose wisdom was celebrated. Anybody met a Cadmonite? No, haven't. How about a Perizzite? No. Hittite? No, you haven't seen any Hittites. No, you didn't see those.
Well, that we know of.
Not that you know of, actually. Oh, they'd be so proud of it, they'd let you know. Hittites. No Perizzites. Parasite, not parasites. The Perizzites. All right. These were in villages. The Rephaim, this is interesting because they're kind of known as giants. They were also in the land. Anybody met a Rephaim past? No? Nobody met one? All right. Well, let's see. How about Amorites? This is interesting. The Amorites. The southern slopes of the mountains of Judea are called the Mount of the Amorites. They seem to have originally occupied the land stretching from the heights west of the Dead Sea to Hebron, embracing all Gilead and Bashan, the Jordan Valley. Did you meet an Amorite this week? No, you didn't. None of these people you saw. The Canaanites, you ever met a Canaanite? No, you haven't met a Canaanite. How about a Girgashite? No. How about a Jebusite? Remember David, actually. The Jebusites were still in the land at the time of David, because David had to buy land from the Jebusites. All right? But have you met one? No, you haven't met one. Hey, have you heard about any Israelites past week?
Yes.
Yeah. Israelites. Yeah, you've heard of Israelites. Yeah, you might have even met one, talked with them, you know. Any ex-Israelites here? No, not ex-Israelites. You're still an Israelite. Anybody here who's kind of a Messianic Jewish background? Awesome. We just met an Israelite. All right, this is so cool. This is amazing because they're around still. You see, all those other groups, they're mentioned in Genesis 15, but they're all gone. You never met them. They've disappeared. But God has His hand. The only reason that there are Israelites in the world today is because of Genesis 15 and the promise that God gave to Abraham. That's the only reason. Let's read about it, all right? So Genesis 15:1, after these things. Okay, after these things. What are the things that it's just after? What happened in Genesis 14? If you remember, in Genesis 14, Abraham had gotten together with some other kings and they'd gone and defeated a whole bunch of other armies. And then they brought back spoil, and Abraham didn't keep any of the spoil because he didn't want anybody thinking that, well, you were blessed because of this other stuff. He gave away all the spoil. And then who did Abraham meet in Genesis 14? Melchizedek. He met Melchizedek in Genesis 14. And what did Melchizedek do, by the way? Two things.
Blessed him and gave him food.
Blessed him, gave him not just food, special kind of food. A more meaningful food, the kind of food that you're going to eat in the service.
Bread and wine.
Bread and wine. Gave him bread and wine. It was symbolic of what Jesus did. Jesus. That's why Jesus is of the order of Melchizedek. You know, bread and wine, broken body, spilt blood. Even Melchizedek did it. We're of the order of that priesthood, and he blessed Abraham, and that's what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to bless other people. After these things, the word of the Lord came to Abraham in a vision. Now, I hope this doesn't ruin it for you, but we're talking about a vision that Abraham has here. All right? He has this vision. Let's read about the vision. First off, he says, "Fear not, Abraham." Because actually, it's going to be kind of a scary vision. I mean, when I mentioned to you they cut an animal in half, I mean, some of you went, "Ew!" And so there is going to be animals cut in half, blood, and there is going to be, I think, a prophetic vision. I think that Abraham is going to see what is in store for his people. All right? Think so? "Fear not, Abraham, I am thy shield." And what I pointed out on Thursday was this, and that is when it says, "I am thy shield," he's not being poetic. He's not saying, "I'm like a shield." He says, "I am thy shield." When God allows something in your life, He allows it to take place in your life. You don't know what God has not allowed in your life because He's your shield and He's stopped it. But He is your shield. All right? And thy exceeding great reward. Thy reward, it's especially for Abraham. It's an exceeding reward. It's bigger than anything you can think of. It's a great reward. I mean, not just exceeding, not just great, but exceeding great. and and he is a reward. And Abraham said, and it's amazing after this, Abraham says this, he says, O Lord God, what wilt thou give me, seeing as how I am without an heir? Because remember, at this time, Abraham didn't even have he didn't have any kids. He didn't even have Ishmael. That didn't come up until 16. So this is even before Ishmael. So he didn't even have a child. Lord, what wilt thou give me, since I am childless, and the heir of my house is Eliezer of Damascus? That was the rule. So the heir of the house was going to be like the highest servant that was in the household, and that was Eliezer of Damascus, this guy from Syria. And Abram said, since thou hast given me no offspring to me, one born in my own house is my heir. Eliezer apparently was born in his own house, but his parents were from Damascus. And God, in this vision, took him outside and said, now look toward the heavens and count the stars if you're able to count them. I'm glad this didn't happen in Los Angeles, because he'd have gone, 6? Wait. Yeah, 5. No, but it's clear. It's a clear night. He sees the stars and knows, man, a clear night. Can you imagine what that would have been like? I should have had that deep space photo right of Hubble right here. Didn't think of it till now. I'm not going to do it. And he said to him, count him if you're able to count him. And he said to him, so shall your descendants be. Did I give you that countdown? How many? If we divided up amongst all the people living on Earth, about 6 billion people, we divided up all the stars that we know about. We divided them up evenly. How many stars would you have?
I don't know. I wasn't there.
You weren't there? You want to know?
I have a million.
Okay. Can you imagine a million? Can you imagine a million?
15.
Can you imagine a billion, which is 1,000 million? I know it's so hard. Can you imagine a trillion, which is 1,000 billion? 15 trillion stars. If we divided up evenly all the stars that we know about, I mean, that's pretty incredible. In other words, you got 15 trillion stars. Where are you going to go today? Dan? I mean,
Number one.
You start with number 1. Alpha Centauri. Amazing. And so shall your descendants be. This is a promise, and we know that it's still going to come true, because we know that God's kingdom. Describe God's kingdom for me. What's it going to be like in terms of growth?
Ever growing.
Ever growing, ever increasing. And count the stars. Your descendants are, because it's going to be children of Abraham that will inhabit the universe. Not just Earth, inhabit the universe. That's where we're going. I mean, Star Trek to infinity and beyond, that's really true, folks, for believers. It's going to be an ever-expanding universe. We can't even fathom the things. That's what the Bible tells us. We don't even have in our minds the things that are going to be blessing us in the future time. To infinity and beyond. So shall your descendants be. And then he believed in the Lord, and he reckoned it to him as righteousness. He reckoned it to him as righteousness. I want to make sure you understand. This is a very important theological position, all right? This is a very important theological truth that I want you to have right now. Here's the idea. When he believed in the Lord, God reckoned it to him as righteousness. So I want you to think of this, will you? I need to have 2 hands for this. I got to do this. Think of this as sin. All right? So what we're going to talk about right now is the idea of imputed righteousness. Imputed righteousness, all right? I got sin. Fausto, stand up. Because I have sin right now. And there are 2 steps to the idea of the imputation of righteousness. Here's the first step.
Catch there.
My sin is now on Fausto, who right now is representing Jesus Christ. All right? My sin has been imputed to him. But that's not the end of it. Because now something else happens. And it goes like this. Righteousness has been imputed to me. You see, both of those steps are very important. Number 1, sin is imputed to Christ, and then he turns it around and he gives me back righteousness. You see that? Our sin is imputed to Jesus on the cross. And then there's this legal thing that takes place where we are justified. It's God's legal declaration that you're righteous in his sight.